Less than that as much. But anyway, here we go. We got a new replay in the board on KF, and we've got in the left side of the map on as the Germans, in the blue, BosoTora. On the right side of the map, in the red, we have the Soviet player Porygon building his first building, special rifle command building. Interesting move. We'll see what comes out of that. Scout car maybe. Scout car, engineers, flame maybe. We'll see. Pioneers are moving really quite far into the map. As a second pioneer squad comes out, a third pioneer squad, should I, repair that statement as it were. Quite a strange push. 3 pioneer squads, maybe 2 at the most. I would do personally. I'd do 2. Build the first building, then get my grenadiers out or get my HMG out. But three pioneers. Interesting. We'll see how this goes. Right. Engineers taking their first point. What's coming in onto the field? Don't know at the second. I could swap over and have a look. Sniper onto the field for the Russians in a couple of seconds' time. Interesting move. Points are being taken quite quickly here for the Germans. This is quite an interesting, speedy beginning. I mean, the first building hasn't gone down yet. There's no Grenadiers ability on the field. It's just literally Pioneers. Interesting. Very interesting. Why this is interesting for me is the fact that they've not got anything to counter any kind of heavy infantry that may come out from the Russians. The snipers were going to do quite a lot of damage for the lack of damage that will be given back to them as battle phase 1 is finished. My thought is he's going to completely miss the first building, save the resources, get to the first battle phase, maybe even go to the second battle phase and push for panzers. It's possible, but my thought is he may lose this battle before it's even begun. So BosoTora is using a different strategy than I've ever seen before, and we'll see how it works out, as a lot of the ground has been taken from the Germans here. My thought is by sending these pioneers to retreat, he's going to build the Panzer Grenadier building, the mechanized company building, and just start with Panzer Grenadiers rather than using any kind of HMG as the scout car when the sniper comes into play. Interesting move here by Porygon. I've seen this used before. Cataclaw uses this quite, like every time I've seen Cataclaw play on his live streams, he's used scout car sniper. So I'm not saying he invented the strategy, but I say the person I saw do it first was him. Another sniper comes into the field, so I'm assuming this is going to be sniper scout car, as I'm assuming it's possible that he may want to use the half-track flame here, but I'd go with Panzer Grenadiers, and he's chose the Panzer Grenadiers. Actually, no, he's cancelled his Panzer Grenadiers. He's bringing out a squad car, and he's going to bring out Panzer Grenadiers behind the squad car. I think he's realised that with that scout car and sniper kind of duo, then he's going to need to try and take that out as quickly as possible. Quite an interesting and well thought out idea there. It shows that BosoTora is not just an idiot and just bringing out crap. He's actually thinking about what moves he needs to make, and that's a sign of a decent player. So scout car comes out to the field. It'll instantly get its upgrade. It's going to take a minute or so to get that, and then it's going to be pushed right into battle as these engineers pioneer battle here. Riveting pioneer battle. We're enjoying this battle. Let's zoom in on it, shall we? Brilliant. Anyway, scout car is nearly done with its upgrade, and it's going to move in towards the snipers. The sniper's going to run away, as does the pioneers the other direction. A little bit of mutual retreat there, as the scout car is going to engage this con squad. The Germans have the board at the moment, it would seem. They don't have very much on the field, though. I mean, they only have 3 infantry units and a scout car, whereas the Russians, they have 2 sniper units, 1 con squad, 1 engineer squad, and a scout car. So I mean, actually, in all honesty, when this Panzer Grenadier unit comes out, it'll be pretty even Steven. Grenadiers here. We're going to start to engage the Pioneers. Battle Phase 1's gone down, obviously. Battle Phase 2's not being done just yet. So there's no kind of thought about the push to the next phase just yet. They'll just keep pushing out Panzer Grenadiers as their second Panzer Grenadier comes into play and a half-track comes onto the list of production. Middle ground being taken here by the Russians. Con squad, scout car, sniper, all into the middle. Not such a terrible strategy this for the Russians, but with this scout car it can do some serious damage against this other scout car. Scout car. But that con squad can put some fire down onto this scout car and do a little bit of damage, and it will do. It'll take out a lot of its health, but the scout car could kill this other scout car if it's really not careful. Engineer Panzer Grenadiers coming in here to help out. The cons are doing a lot of damage to that scout car, and that has to be seen as a victory for the Russians there. Very well manoeuvred units there, as one grenade goes in on that building and doesn't do any damage whatsoever. And scout car and sniper is going to do a lot of damage against that Panzer Grenadiers, and they've got to move there. They've got to leave, retreat, or you may get wiped out. Oh dear. Now that's a loss of some serious money or manpower. 360 manpower lost there after that Panzer Grenadier unit got knocked out. Flame upgrade for the half-track coming in, but it's not going to be quickly enough to do any real damage against these units just yet. But it will push, it would seem. Russians are getting flanked quite badly here by the German Pioneer units, but if you look at what's on the board, the Pioneer units and the half-track are the only thing on the field for the Germans at the moment as a Panzer Grenadier unit comes into play. But in all honesty, I'm not so sure this play is going to work for the Germans, because I mean, the Russians have still got a lot coming in. I mean, they've got rifles coming in now, which means that this half-track is going to take a little bit of damage from these rifles. When I say rifles, I'm using I'm shortening the Guards rifle infantry down to rifles, just in case some people didn't know, as the half-track does some serious damage against that infantry, but the infantry just blows them away. And this Pioneer squad is going to have to retreat out. It can't stand up to this force. So half-track is down. We've only got 2 Pioneer squads left on the field for the Germans and the Panzer Grenadier unit. But in all honesty, this could be over as quickly as it begun. Because, I mean, there's barely anything on the board for the Germans. I mean, if you look at how much is on the field for the Russians, you've got 2 rifles, 1 con, 1 engineer, 2 snipers and a scout car. I mean, that is too much for these Germans. These Germans, they could sit and take points all they want, but they will always be outmaneuvered, and they will always be outgunned because of the amount of stuff that the Russians were able to get out very quickly. So I feel bad for the Germans, because he's obviously come into the game with a plan and with a strategy. And the strategy so far has backfired, because, to be honest, you need those early grenadiers to give some serious push in certain areas of the field. Scout car went down there. I did see its destruction, but I wasn't really talking about it. I was too busy talking about other crap. And this rifles is going to come in and engage this half-track, which is not going to do that much damage against them without the flame upgrade. And I haven't got enough ammunition to do the flame upgrade just yet, as Panzer Grenadiers are kind of mixing it up a bit, and it's a switch up here between Panzer Shreks or the flame upgrade, and they're going with the flame upgrade, and this could be a waste of ammunition here if this rifles can take it out. But it's going to fall back, and it's going to repair, and it's going to wait for this upgrade to hit, as the rifles and the pioneers and the engineers are going to drop some mines that could be useful for later on. They're also going to take this middle star, which means that they will stop the flow of points, which has obviously been a problem so far. I mean, in terms of points, the Germans are obviously at an advantage. They've got the money, they've got the points on the board, the stars. But with the amount of stuff that keeps coming out for the Russians, it's just a matter of time before the Russians take some of these stars back and are able to hold them. Now, let's keep an eye on these two sets of mines that the Russians have placed down. They've placed one there and one in that location next to that dead Panzer IV. This could be quite interesting if those units go through that location. I'm interested to see here what happens. Will the half-track go over the mines? Luckily, the mines miss, but the Grenadiers do take a little bit of damage from that other mine. Decent placing there by the Russians. A little bit unlucky not to get the half-track hit, but nonetheless, well thought out, I thought. When a grenade goes down against the Panzer Grenadiers, and it does a little bit of damage, but the Russians are going to have to retreat out. And the half track is going to do some serious damage against these cons, and these cons are going to have to run away or try and engage this half track, but I think they'll just have to run away. Let me just check what doctrine they are using. They've got the 120mm mortar and the rifles coming in, so they've got a decent doctrine at work. I don't know if they'll ever bring those mortars in. I don't think they'll need them, because at the moment, I don't know, that the balance of power is shifting at the moment. The Russians have lost quite a bit here. They've lost a couple of infantry units. They've lost a scout car. They've got another scout car here, of course. And it's doing some serious damage against this half-track. Very well played there by the Russian Porygon. What he's done is he's got another scout car out, and instead of putting a sniper unit, he's put his rifles in there. And that is good against any kind of light vehicle. Very well played. They'll also go around and capture some positions quite quickly, as the Russians have now got the stars to stop or to start the German fall of points. As battle phase 3 comes in for the Germans, which means they're going to place their, the heavy Panzer Corps coming down. Interesting move. They haven't got nowhere near enough fuel to even think about Panthers here, so I'm thinking they may go with rocket artillery. It's possible. I personally would have just got the support corps and got Panzer IVs out rather than go for the next one. Anyway, scout car doing some decent damage and taking that point there. We got more movement down between rifles and cons in this southern area, taking the points quite slowly here, because the rifles aren't at full strength, so their point taking abilities are reduced. A scout car comes in here, does a little bit further damage as the heavy Panzer Corps building comes down. What is going to be built here? I mean, they've got nothing available. They've got no manpower for anything. They've got very little fuel for anything. They've got enough for the Panzerwerfer. Russians are in control, I'd say, at the moment. In terms of forces on the field, they've got more infantry. They've just got more of everything, really, at the moment. Scout car is going to take this point in the middle, and those infantry units are moving towards the centre, or actually they're going to move towards this middle point. See if they can take out this scout car, I think would be the best way to describe the movement of these infantry. Although they've not even got anything upgraded, they haven't got Panzer Schrecks to do any damage. They'll engage the infantry, but I mean, if that scout car comes in, they may be in a little bit of trouble here as the volley of rifle fire comes in. Germans are retaking some of the ground that they've lost, but I'm thinking that the Russians have got too much on the field, and they need to get another engineer unit in, build another building, get some tanks on the field. Otherwise, The Germans may, if they keep up the fact that they're taking some of these points and getting some of the resources they need to get tanks out onto the field, then it could be a bad thing. But I mean, at the moment, the Germans have not got enough resources to do anything really useful with the buildings that they've got. They can bring scout cars, they can bring half-tracks in, that's no problem. But when you're fighting against a build like this with the scout car and the rifles in, it will not do much damage, unfortunately. The Russians control all 3 stars, and this scout car is doing some serious damage to these infantry units. They may, though, here lose that scout car. That was quite annoying, I think. And the Panzer Grenadiers finally come out on top in that battle, but the damage is being done here for the points. And although the points at the moment, I think my analysis of points, the points at the moment, it's very even, but points aren't really that much of a use to begin with in these battles. You know, the first 10-15 minutes, points aren't really that important, because if you can get the momentum and the people on the field, you can stop any kind of points loss, really, even if it's less than 100 points, which is one of the maps that I saw yesterday, where some guy had like 69 points left and took basically the field, just ran the field across with his tanks, and was able to win the game, even though he'd lost like almost all of his points. So, although I keep saying that the points are important, they are important to a certain degree. It's like a time limit, basically, is what I'm trying to get on. More Panzer Grenadiers coming back into play here. They're being reinforced and will start to move forward, but I can sense that they're going to be engaged here by a sniper squad and the rifles, and it could be a little dangerous here for the Germans as the Panzer Grenadiers run into their own grenades, which is always nice. And the snipers have decided to move back, engage from further distance again as the rifles run away. Snipers still doing some serious damage against the Panzer Grenadiers though, and the Panzer Grenadiers are going to steal those rifles from the dead bodies of the rifles that left before. Which gives them a little bit of anti-vehicle abilities here, which is always quite nice to have. But something that I didn't see coming is here. I thought they'd bring out tanks sooner or later, the Russians, and they've decided to bring in 2 T-34-85s, which are the better variants of the T-34. This half-track is dead. Goodbye, half-track. It was nice seeing you, but I'm afraid you're dead. Panzer Grenadiers are about to get engaged and have a bad time, basically, would be the best way to describe how these Panzer Grenadiers are going to feel. They're being flanked on pretty much every side, and all I can think now is that the Germans have nothing to fight against this. There's nothing coming in the Panzer, the support heavy Panzer Corps. There's nothing coming in from the mechanized company. They've got 1 Pioneer squad there and a retreated, a Panzer Grenadier squad up here. It's over. It has to be over for the Germans here. There's no way that the Germans, in my opinion, can win from this position. Even if they bring this Panther in right now, I honestly don't think they're going to have enough. And if I was the Russians, I'd target the heavy Panzer Corps, because it can see that something's being cooked, and it has to think about taking it out right now. Focus on the heavy Panzer Corps, please, T-34s, if you want to win this battle. I think it may come out in time, to be honest. But there's nothing on the field for the Germans to defend against anything like this, and in all honesty, this has to be over unless the Panther comes out, and even then the Panther's going to struggle. So let's see what happens. The Panther will come out here. I don't think there's enough time for these T-34s to finish destroying this building in time. And it does. Panther comes out to play. This building goes down though, and T-34s are going to look at this and think, shit, took too long over focusing on the heavy Panzer Corps, and I need to retreat here. That, I think, is a wise move. But this Panther is going to focus now on these T-34s. That could be a dangerous ploy to do, in all honesty, because they can... That was a little bit of a mistake there by the Russian. He turned his tank around and he's going to ram it. So it wasn't a mistake. It was a ploy. Bring them back so the other T-34 can do some serious damage. That's very, very well played there, Russians. I thought it was a mistake. First time I saw it, mistake, and then he turned around and he rammed it, and I think that was a very wise decision there by the Russian. Disable the Panther, do some serious damage against it, but the other T-34, very well played by Porygon. Rifles coming in to give some more woe to this Panther as it's in an absolute state. Although, actually, the rifles haven't got the upgrade. And the Panther goes down. I feel bad for the German there. He brought in the Panther thinking that it would get a really good victory here against these T-34s. And then the T-34s turn around and do some serious damage. MVP there goes to that T-34 85 for that ram. That was pretty decent stuff there. And all I thought was a bloody... the Russians had made a mistake, and they hadn't. They'd done some serious damage, and I honestly think that's now game over. I don't think the Germans have anything. Although they've just got some Panzerschrecks on the field, so they're going to do a little bit of damage to this T-34. Well, actually they won't, because they keep hitting the rubble of their former tank, so that's a shame. Cons and rifles take this middle point, and the Germans are losing pretty much all of their ground at the moment. They've decided to take their doctrine, which looks like it's the elephant doctrine, but they haven't got enough resources on the field to even think about using any of the stuff that's available in that doctrine, and it's a little bit too late to use that doctrine as the second T-34 is back and ready to be used. As that T-34 is taking some hits here. The Pak-40's on the field, and I don't think it'll have enough here because this T-34 is just going to go right round the back, and it's going to take out this Pak-40. These other T-34's taking a lot of damage there though, so Panzer Grenadiers may have something to say about that though, as they do a little bit of damage. I mean, they've done us a little bit of damage to the T-34s, but I don't think it's been enough. I think, in all honesty, I'm surprised BosoTora's not decided to GG at this point, because he must think that it's over. He must think. He can't think that he's going to be able to engage all this infantry and all these tanks with just 2 Panzer Grenadier units. That seems to be quite silly, if you ask me. I mean, they're going to do some damage to the tanks, that's for sure. There's no doubt about that. And good grenades like that will get them far in this world, but this Panzer Grenadier unit is literally just taking fire upon fire upon fire, and it may take out this T-34, but at what cost to these Grenadiers? I think the German will be quite happy with that trade, to be honest. I didn't like that trade whatsoever, because he literally just ran in with 2 Panzer Grenadiers units and lost them. Lost half of each. But I will say this. He had nothing else to do. He couldn't do anything else, really. So, I mean, what could you do? What could the German do in that situation but attack? Because he's only got 2 Panzer Grenadier units left on the field. And surely he realises this is up. But I reckon he'll do his best to try and just do as much damage here as possible. Especially with these Grenadiers now at 3 veteranary stars. So if he's not careful, I was about to say, if he's not careful, that Panzer Grenadier unit would be completely taken out. And unfortunately for him, he's lost the Panzer Grenadier unit, although he is going to bring in another Pak-40 here. I'm wondering to myself why. I mean, Porygon knows that he's won this game, and I'm sure that Porygon's not annoyed the fact that the Germans dragging this out. But I mean, in all honesty, this is over. It's over. Halfway through the whole battle, it was over. Really. We got a little. Is that a flare there? Flare goes up for the sniper. I've not seen one of those in play before, actually. Not so sure what they actually do. I suppose they give a little bit of sight to the Russians, I'd imagine. Either way, we have a little bit of a lull in the battle here, because obviously the Germans have nothing and the Russians have everything. So I can only imagine that snipers are now going to have a field day against this infantry. And this Panzer Grenadier unit is going to be toast. Pack 40 is doing a little bit of damage, but that must be GG now. There's nothing left. Come on, GG it. End it. End it, son. It's over. And it is over. So, what happened in this game to warrant the result that you've just seen? Well, first off, the strategy from the German. 3 pioneers rather than 1 building and then grenadiers, which is a little strange. 3 pioneers. I must add, though, that the amount of area that the pioneers took from the Russians was really good. The problem is they didn't have the building, and they didn't have the first building, which obviously got them their grenadiers or their HMGs to offer some cover in some areas. So if you bypass that first building, then you have only pioneers on the field for the first 5 minutes or so. You get your first battle phase, and then you're able to buy the mechanized company, which is what they went for, what the Germans went for. The problem is by that time, the Russians had too much on the field, and the Russians literally went from having too much on the field to still having too much on the field until right this minute. Even thinking to bring in a 120mm mortar just to add, flames to the fire, as it were. Unfortunately, I'm not gonna lie. BosoTora used a strategy that didn't work to begin with, and it kind of ruined the game for him. Him. I don't know if it's a her or what. And Porygon used the doctrine that he'd obviously set to use, and he came in with scout cars, and he came in with snipers, and he came in with the rifles, and that was all it needed to take out the vital vehicles that the Germans would bring out and destroy everything else in the making. So